All right, everyone. Welcome into the All Birdies, No Bogeys podcast right here on JomezPro. It's Nate Perkins. We've got Brian Earhart and a special guest, Charlie Eisenhood here. This is episode 8. Thanks for joining us. You guys just got done talking about disc golf for, 12 hours straight? Charlie, talk about how that feels to, you're going to Brian's house, you're setting up in the booth, and you're just locked and loaded Disc Golf Network all day long. How you feeling?
I feel like I've spent about half of my life over the last month in Charlotte with Brian.
Yeah.
I've been here a bunch, but no, it's always a lot of fun, and some surprisingly interesting rounds today to close out. And hey, a lightning delay for us. It's honestly a chance to just kind of like sit down, watch the Thunder beat the Grizzlies by 51 points, and just kind of relax for a second before we get back onto the broadcast. Thanks for having me, by the way.
Yeah, man, we're happy to have you, and you guys sound great. By the way, you're fantastic team, bringing a ton of professionalism to the broadcast. Really enjoying what I'm hearing at home, and yeah, I just want to ask you again, Charlie, like, how do you settle in for such a long day? You know, I've been in the booth before, and I know that it can get kind of tense. Like I feel my spine getting stiff. Like, how do you get comfortable and deliver your best work?
Try to eat a good breakfast. Drink a lot of coffee. Thankfully, Brian is a coffee connoisseur, so there's plenty of good stuff available here.
Got the night swim?
Yeah, and then lunch, and just like try to stay locked in. And it is I having done both single round days where usually I'm like for an FPO major, for instance, I'm just doing FPO play by play versus doing the 2 rounds like this. It is admittedly a lot easier to just do 1 round and really focus on that division and kind of be ready for that 1 4-hour broadcast. But it's enjoyable to sit and do the whole tournament, because usually if I'm not working one of the rounds, I'm going to be listening and watching on DGN anyway.
Yeah.
So it's 4 days in a row like this, because we did match play and then the 3 days. It is a lot. It is a lot. I look forward to going to bed tonight.
Yeah. Well, Brian, how are you feeling, man? This was one of your first times doing both FPO and MPO back to back, 4 days. I mean, how many night swim cappuccinos are we talking to keep it rolling?
Well, me and Charlie just do drip, so we actually have evolved throughout the weekend. So we had the nice coffee in the beginning, the night swim, the hacks. We were like making like nice AeroPress like batches for each other, and we were kind of sharing them. But over time, we started to just get tired, and I was like, oh, Lindsay came home with a big box of Starbucks from work. We're going to microwave that. That's pretty much how Sunday went for us, because I hand make every cup that I drink, and sometimes going through the process is not fun when it's just for the fuel to keep moving through your day. So it turns into from like a ritual to like a shackle, so to speak. I just want the coffee to deliver. So it was great, but I'm fine. I don't know. I really love being here in the booth, and really doing on course as much as you and I have changes your perspective about being in the booth, because man, it's crazy doing 2 rounds out there, because there's a physical component to it as well. And you have to listen so intently to the broadcast, because you never know when they're going to throw to you. When fans try to come up and talk to you, you kind of like shoo them away, because you don't want people to actually get in the way of someone throwing to you. So I don't know, you kind of get a lot of good reps and a good perspective doing on course so much. So now that I'm in the booth a lot more, I feel well-rounded. And also, Dixon Jowers out there on the ground, that was his first time for DGN, I believe.
Sounded good.
I know what he wants to talk about, and me and Charlie prioritized getting him the opportunities to speak about what he was soaking in, instead of just throwing like, hey, objectively, what is this, disc? Where did this disc go out of bounds? Yeah, that's important sometimes, but he's out there gathering intel that we don't get to have. So I just am excited to deliver those tosses to the on-course guy and let them shine a little bit. So it's been a blast, and I'm so happy to be in the booth calling the action. But you weren't there, Perks. How you feeling, man? You getting a little FOMO?
Toasty just asked me that, and I am getting a little FOMO. 2 tournaments in a row, missing it's tough, but it's good to be home. With my fiance Catherine, and I played a disc golf tournament this weekend, so had fun with that, and obviously had the live broadcast going too, and we were kind of all watching when Gannon was 3 over through 3, and it was like actually a ball game again. It was pretty exciting there for a second, but I'm ready to get back at it at the Champions Cup here in a couple weeks for sure.
All right,
But
Charlie.
I want to bring it back. What'd you guys think of match play?
Well, I thought it was a lot of fun. I wasn't sure what to expect. I felt like the last time we saw match play on the Pro Tour, it was a little bit forced, I guess I would say. Kind of players weren't necessarily super excited about it. We didn't have all the top players there. And this time around, I don't know. People were pretty locked in. It was like way higher level than I expected. I thought it might be more exhibition feeling. And instead, like people were pretty serious about taking their shots
it was tense.
at the best of their abilities. It was tense.
Yeah,
and
it was.
We got some classic moments out there and some upsets. It was fun.
Yeah, Ricky, Paul coming down to the wire. I thought their match was pretty high level, and yeah, I think that's exactly what the fans want. I felt like that one had the most kind of draw to it.
Are you guys cool with the matches ending in draws? I don't know if I can stomach if that Ricky Paul match ended in a draw. I get it. 3 points for a win, 1 point for the draw. That's chess does that. You get a point. You get a half a point if you draw a match, and whatever. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. What about you?
Yeah,
Charlie?
Go ahead, Charlie.
I don't. It didn't happen, so I'm not sure how I would feel. But I think that in this setting, it does make sense to allow it to be a draw because you're doing. It's like soccer match, right? It's like World Cup standing style, and pretty much exact same scoring. And we have these 4-player pools. So I kind of like it because it means that you can not just have it decided by like one random playoff hole, and instead it's like no, like they actually just split the points.
Yeah,
and maybe that decides who goes through.
Yeah, it does. That's an interesting point there. It doesn't feel right because we never have draws in golf. It's just not a thing that our sport has. But because we're following this group play scenario, maybe it makes sense for just the group play, and obviously we won't be drawing once we get out of the group plays, and there'll be playoffs, which will be exciting. So
to me, it's just like soccer, where it's like you don't want to have to decide a match by penalty kickoff, but you might have to, and like you don't want to have to decide a match by like one
hole.
playoff hole, but you might have to. But in group play, we don't.
Well, let's get right into the FPO action then. I think we've got a new star on our hands, Cadence. I mean, what did you guys think of Cadence Burge averaging 10-14 rated disc golf and really being the one to push Holden Hanley, who was playing really good down the stretch? What do you have to say about that, Brian?
Well, we got to watch a lot of slow-mo of her, and I see so much of so many good throwers in the way she puts the disc out there in the backhand. That's not going anywhere. And we've been talking about, even off camera, what would it be like if she actually had a good serviceable forehand, even like a Missy Gannon? And selfishly, I kind of want to see her push the backhand as far as she can. This is too good. And she's doing it from bad footing. She's doing it from uncomfortable situations, and she moves slow. She doesn't have this super herky-jerky style. She's very fluid in the way she moves the disc, and it comes out with so much pace. If you watch her on the tee pad, she braces really well. She has great torso rotation. Her back shoulder is really engaged. So there are a lot of intangibles that, you can practice form, but just naturally that's how her body moves. So over time, she's just going to get better and better and better. So I selfishly want her to kind of take the James Conrad route just so I can see how good this backhand can get over time. And the putt is just fantastic. And Charlie and I were talking about it all weekend.
Yeah, that driving hyzer putt. I mean, that's really the biggest separator between the talent, in my view, in the FPO field is, a lot of players are giving themselves, green in regulation, but it's, how many players are really putting it in from the edge of the circle on a regular basis? And she was doing it earlier in the year, but then the putter just really showed up. Here, look at this putt on 11. I mean, just the hyzer, the confidence. Charlie, what are you really picking up that Cadence is doing well to shoot 3,000 rated rounds in a row?
Yeah, not just that, but become the player to lose a tournament with the highest event rating ever in FPO. She beat Silva Saarinen from Music City Open 2 weeks ago,
Wow.
who set that mark,
Really?
passing Missy Gannon from Worlds a couple years ago against Kristen. Absolutely crazy level of FPO disc golf right now. 3 straight 1,000 rated plus rounds. What it seems to me, first of all, it's not like a flash in the pan, one-off, perfect course fit type of situation, because this is now her 4th top 10. And what we're seeing is elite gap hitting, upper distance, right? Maybe not, the absolute top, but
Yeah,
can
not
throw
tier
very
1.
far, right? So let's call it tier 2 distance, tier 1 putting. And what I think was on display today, really it felt like for the first time, was top tier lack of fear on a lead card in a big spot with a big crowd, trying to chase and executing the entire round. There were really only a few shots that she missed. I mean, she tied the previous course record. She was a shot or two away from possibly breaking Holland's course record. And, she probably isn't going to catch Holland, even if she does that and like shoot a 9. But she never was scared, and she legitimately put pressure on Holland. And when have we seen a young player play like this on the lead card of the biggest lights? I mean, Emily Weatherman, but we've only seen that in glimpses, and I don't think I've seen the ceiling that we've seen so far from Cadence in 2025.
Yeah, it's really well spoken, Charlie. We haven't seen it in a long time, and for me, what I really noticed was the reactions to the bad shots. That's really what I'm like kind of zooming in on a young player. It's like, how are you reacting when it doesn't go your way, right? It's easy to kind of stay collected when you're birdieing and it's feeling good, but a few weeks ago, she was having these like really drastic reactions to, a missed putt or a bad shot, and it just didn't seem like that was the case this week. She was just a little more settled and was kind of letting those bad shots just kind of wash over her, and she was able to forget about it. And you can't get that experience anywhere else but being on the card and having the failure, on the lead card final round. And now you just said it, 4 top 10s. Like, it's not a flash in the pan. I think we got a new threat in FPO, and I'm loving it.
I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season goes for her. We talked about it a little bit in the broadcast, but she's a kid, and kids.
How old is she?
I think, what is it?
I think she
17
turned
or
18 or maybe
Wow.
19 this year. Yeah. Still a teenager.
You just think back to yourself when you're, 18, 19 years old. The world is so big in front of you, and it's very rare for somebody to just go, oh, yeah, I know exactly what I want to do when I grow up. I know exactly who I am as a person. These years coming up for anybody, Gannon Burr included, so many of these young players have to figure out, like, is this my path? Is disc golf what I want to try to do? It's a big risk. I don't care how good you are. It's a big risk to jump into this industry, go on the road full time, and put yourself out there in a pretty vulnerable place. So I want to see what happens when she does become solidified as an absolute threat on tour. Companies start to recognize her and support her on a higher level. We've heard multiple stories of players getting that opportunity and crumbling under the spotlight. I'm not saying she's going to do that, but she has, challenge after challenge after challenge on her way to becoming someone. I'd say the pinnacle right now is Kristen Latt, who has a Porsche, with her name on it, essentially. So
Yeah.
To get there, you have to handle a lot of scrutiny, and you have to have handle a lot of people talking about you every weekend, and it's tough to do. So I love what I saw from her. 10-14
Cool.
rated loss. Are you kidding me?
10-14 rated loss. Holland averages 10-18 to take down the title, which is just a few off the highest rated FPO tournament all time. So the level of play seems to be getting higher and higher. Brian, what do you think that Holland did well this weekend to be able to average, 10-18 over a 3-round event?
I said this a few times today. The defensive putts, so to speak, when she knows that somebody's on her tail and she knows that she's going to quote unquote lose strokes to somebody, and she has like a 30-foot comeback for par or something like that. Those are the nerviest putts at times, because if you lose that, you start to feel like uneasy, like, oh no, like I'm not in control anymore. But she was drilling these all day. It felt like it wasn't just, oh, I'm putting my foot on the gas, and when I'm feeling good, I'm feeling good. When she got herself into bad situations, she made up for it with something great. And that's what Kristen is so good at. And that's why she is as good as she is, and that's why she's the only 1,000-rated player. But Holland is starting to command the tournaments and make everybody else catch up to her. She's beaten Kristen this year. We're talking about something apparently some people just think is completely decided already. But I want to ask you, we're not talking about prime Kristen and prime Holland. I'm talking potential right now, how they're both playing this season, which is great. Who shows up playing their best and wins head-to-head, Kristen or Holland?
Yeah, I heard you guys talking about that on the broadcast a little bit, and it's a tough hypothetical, but I think that Kristen has the slightest edge as far as a golf ceiling. I really feel that Holland is the better athlete, and Holland has more power, and the win reads this week were just incredible. I mean, it's getting better every week, but FPO I felt like dealt with a little bit more wind in the mornings at KC, and Holland from like Circle's Edge and just outside was just kept making really hard putts in the wind. And the ceiling, they're almost evenly matched. I would give the slightest edge to Kristen. It's just that I feel like Kristen makes her bad rounds are just not as bad as Holland's, and Holland's kind of chipping away at that, right? So I think Holland's going to, be pushing into the mid 990s this season and maybe even pushing for that 1,000 rated mark. I think Charlie, you said she's averaging 1,000 on the season, right?
Yeah,
now.
I think after this weekend, she's probably around 1,001, 1,002 because she obviously pulling that average up. But yes, over 1,000 for sure.
So if she keeps that up, I mean, they're close as far as ceiling. I just feel like the bad rounds and just the mid round mistakes are still a little bit more common for Holland than they are Kristen. Where do you stand, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, I said I'll kind of repeat myself a little bit from the broadcast, which is just that I think from a straight golf perspective, there's not a lot separating them. I frankly think Holland's a little bit better on the green. Her putting stats over the last couple of years have shown that. Now we see Kristen can get locked in, and when she's in rhythm from inside 40 feet, sometimes it feels like she cannot miss. But statistically over the course of the season, Holland was the better putter last year. She's been the better putter so far this year in 2025. But it's about the mental side of the game, and that's where Kristen has no equal. She has no equal. Obviously, we saw cool stuff from Cadence today, but we're talking about around here, around there. She's chasing. She's not leading. And I think we're watching Holland learn how to play with a lead. I mean, we haven't even mentioned it yet. This is her first ever wire-to-wire win.
Was it really?
She was 0 for 7 after having a first-round lead before this weekend, which is hard to believe.
Yeah,
but she's had a hard time playing from the lead, having that pressure, and you saw it creep in a little bit at times, I thought, today.
Austin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And in Austin, she almost completely collapsed. Here, I feel like it was never quite in collapse mode. It was more in like, nervy. Is she going to open the door? It looks a little scared. She's doing a lot of heavy breathing to try to keep her heart rate down. But these moments are what allow you to learn how to play that way. And, Kristen won U.S. Women's back in 2019. That's a long time ago. Like, she's had years of learning this and really focusing on it as a part of her game. So that's going to be something that Holland has to keep getting better at. And so head to head right now, I still give the edge slightly to Kristen, but it is quite close and probably closer than people might think.
Mm-hmm. Well, I tell you, FPO just continues to deliver, though, doesn't it? I mean,
It's been a great season.
You know, I've always kind of called it different sports. It's the same sport. It's just different divisions, but it's its own thing. And FPO pulls me in every single time. And Kristen wasn't here this week. And it's an interesting thing because now they're both going to be coming off of wins and going into a major. So it's just this heating up kind of dynamic, and I'm here for it. Let's roll. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, yeah, let's jump into MPO because I have a similar question before we jump into the rest of the action. Same question for Gannon. If he's playing at his peak right now, is there any player who can fill that role that Holland fills in the discussion with Kristen?
No, absolutely not. I think that Gannon's a couple strokes around better than anybody else in the field right now if he's playing at his A game. I thought the 14 under round one is the best round of the year. I can't think of one close, maybe one of Nicholas's rounds, like the final rounds the last couple of weeks, maybe the one at Nashville. But this is a hard course. 2 over par was 1,000 rated, and he shot 14 under round one. Charlie, what do you make of that?
Well, first of all, I mean, what I make of it is that, sure, by rating, it matches a few rounds we've seen this season. But by eye test, it was obviously the best round we've seen. To beat whole field by 6 strokes, I mean, this is just not a course, because it's got a lot of par 4s, it's not going to give out big ratings for strong rounds. And we see that, right? More wooded courses with longer, par 4s and 5s. You don't see 1,000 rated. It just doesn't happen. By any other metric, this is 1,100 rated. And so I just think that Gannon was locked in a way we haven't seen anybody play this season. I mean, he's laying up a putt because he's doing so well that he doesn't need it. And it's hard to believe, but I mean, he was parking every hole. He barely had testers. He was just putting from 20 feet for birdie he was on the green in regulation on 17 out of 18 holes.
Yeah. So let's look through the round, actually. Hole 7, he hit a tree. That was the one,
the one tree.
He hit a tree, got the 3. Hole 9, puts it to circle 2 off the tee. Abysmal. I can't believe you would do anything like that. Gets a 3 there. The tree hit on 7 and then the miss on 13. That one got players all weekend, but I think he made 2 mistakes. He laid up that putt on 14. That's a really hard second shot. As we grade the course, I'm going to talk a little bit more about 14 because I think that hole is awesome, but I can't even fathom a round where you make 2 micro mistakes and that's your day. And yeah, his peak is just ridiculous, and he's one of those guys that makes the game look really easy. I made a comment during round 1 that if you want to truly appreciate when Gannon is playing like this, you should go play a quick round of 9 right after the round that you watched to realize how hard disc golf actually is, because he's not overshaping the disc. He's not doing things that look spectacular. He's not dangling by a thread. He is fully in the driver's seat, throwing simple lines, never overcomplicating things. And what I love about him is when he needs to go crazy on a shot, like final round, hole number 6, that forehand from the knee, he can do it. Yeah, he's got the technicality. The shot on 7, 420 feet down the corridor, flip up 420 feet, like just unbelievable stuff, but he doesn't break it out unless he has to. And I don't know. I think he's primed up for the major. But I feel like the majors sometimes, well, maybe it's just Worlds, but do you think he overthinks the major championships?
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that can be getting to him, right? Is the pressure of the title, right? Like he gets ahead of himself. He's admitted to us in interviews, right, that he was thinking about what it would be like to be a world champion before he even threw his first shot, right? Versus just zooming in on the golf. And it's a little easier to do, still hard, but a little easier to do on the Elite Series. It's different at the World Championships, and it's starting to become different at all the majors. Really, it's when everybody brings their best game, and it's the titles that people seem to remember. So yeah, Brian, I think to answer your question, it's got to be the prestige of the title and him just overthinking it. And the one thing that I want to try and reveal for fans listening is what is he doing different than the other players? And I want to talk about his putt to start, because I feel like that's the thing that he's doing the most different than anybody else, and what he is really kind of going to end up creating a big shift in the way that people putt, is because for me, he's this combination of, when we go back to like 2012, 2013, like Nico LaCastro and Ricky Wysocki, they were the first ones to really figure out how to get that pitch putt up in the air and driving nose down, right? And they redefined what you needed to do. What Gannon's doing with the nose down pitch, but then going off axis and going to his left hip to get the speed on it, I think he's the first one to really figure that out. And it's just redefining what putts look like. And in all kinds of situations, like the pitch putt, normally it has a chink in the armor, right? Because if it's windy, elevated baskets and stuff, it's out of control. But the way he's able to add the power to it off axis, it makes it foolproof. And so I think that people are going to try and start to model their putts the way that Gannon is doing. And I kind of want to ask you guys, like, what else do you think he's doing different to be able to separate himself in such a way from a deep field?
Yeah, I'll start by saying we showed some footage of old KC Wide Opens in the broadcast, and the first thing you notice is they're playing on Mach 3s, which, if you played back then, they were great baskets. Your putt
Scary.
just was modeled around that basket. But now with the modern baskets on the tour that catch really well, I don't care how people complain about them these days, they catch really well, to the point where the young generation is no longer needing to dive nose down into the tray. They can crash one through the chains and putt as hard as they want, and a lot of these baskets will catch just fine. Say you get a spit out once a tournament. A lot of these players don't care. If they have a confident stroke that can beat the wind, that's so much better. And just like people started mimicking Paul, because Paul started putting with a lot of pace when he was coming up for the first time. So many little kids with that slow drawdown on hyzer to the left knee.
Yep.
People are going to start doing that like Gannon, but also I still think the way Gannon putts is a product of him starting as a child, because your hands are not big enough to scoop like a push putt. So you have to draw it down here. You have to putt it from that side.
Almost throw it.
Yeah, but now the kids have someone to watch, who's the best in the world putting like them. They're not going to be 6'6", but yeah, he's doing a lot of special stuff. My last thing in regards to the way he plays, it reminds me of like Magnus Carlsen in chess. Magnus is referred to as like the best overall intuitive chess player, right? And back in the day, there were players that had like styles, like, oh, this guy's a really offensive, aggressive player. This guy's a really defensive, lockdown player. Magnus can play any style. And if he feels like he needs to be that guy one day or this guy another day, he can. And that's why he's so hard to beat. Gannon is the exact same way. We've watched him kind of go through a metamorphosis of different playing styles. And, he used to talk to me about his theory on the flex shot, on how it's the best shot, and that's all you need to do for disc golf. And then over time, he's like, I could learn a hyzer flip for certain holes. And now it's just overall finesse, power on both sides. And, Rick and Paul have that to an extent, but for the longest time, they were their distinct play styles. Like the way that they attack hole 12 at Bad Rock kind of depicts how they used to play exclusively. Like Rick slams the overstable glideless shot flat, and Paul throws this dainty little hyzer flip that rides right, lands softly, and Gannon can do both of those with confidence. That's my thought.
A couple quick things to add to what you guys have already said. One thing that's always impressed me about Gannon is his ability to putt, inside the circle, 40 feet, 50 feet, 75 feet. He's still standstill putting. He's putting from 100 feet, and he will make it like 5 to 10% of the time, which is insane. And he's not really changing his stroke in a meaningful way. So that is, we don't really see that, right? We see players who they want to be outside the circle so they can switch to a jump or a step putt. Gannon is not even thinking about that, right? He's setting his feet and he's putting into the chains, and he's practiced being front of knee, being straddled out, right? So he has the ability to like adjust on the green. I think, this weekend the putting was good. It was not. He still hasn't quite hit the ceiling of what we saw from him last year, especially from outside the circle. But what separated him this week was just an unbelievable ability to just shape exactly the lines he was imagining. And I feel like his analytical ability about the game and his ability to remember every hole and every shot somehow allows him to tap into the micro adjustments that you need to make as a thrower and as an athlete to be able to make the corrections, because he'll throw a shot and complain and it'll be at 30 feet instead of 12, and he's complaining about missing by 15 feet. And other players are like, I just don't think that that's like coming into the equation for them. If they hit the circle, they're happy. And I just think there's like a level of perfectionism in his game that he somehow is able to tap into and adjust and get better without it negatively affecting him, except sometimes it feels at the majors where the pressure is just a little too amped up and he's a little too focused on trying to win without just focusing on the execution that he seems to do most of the time.
Just really quality insight. It's trying to walk on the razor's edge, right? Brian's always said it like that. You're like tiptoeing on the razor's edge, and he's doing it, man. You're so right, Charlie. I feel like he's the smartest player I've really met, and he's able to talk in depth about his entire round with better recall than any player I've really talked to at 19 years old.
Except Casey White.
Sweet. This is a good shout out right there. And of course, I mean, it's not to discredit, there's so many players that are able to run the entirety of their round back through their mind. I mean, we could do it with Paul McBeth all day. He's not just, walking through the course, not thinking about shots, not visualizing. I think you're right, Charlie. I think Gannon is just doing it a little better than everybody else right now, and is able to visualize and get close to that perfection. He's breaking the game. He broke the course this week.
I mean, he has the physical build to be elite at the game. There's a reason that AB and Gannon and Eagle and these guys reach a higher level, and it's because they're just built for the levers that you need for disc golf. And it makes it amazing to watch someone who's not necessarily built like that do amazing things on the course, like a McBeth. But at the end of the day, Gannon's ceiling is higher than we've ever seen, and it's going to come down to the mentality and the longevity and the endurance as he gets older, whether he can sort of reach that potential. But he's got all the tools.
So, tournament gets delayed twice. About an hour. Me and Charlie watch some basketball, eat some snacks. Players get called back on the course. Immediately, the horn gets blown again. They get pulled off the course. I feel for them because I know the frustration of being out there when the horn gets blown multiple times. But they cut it to 9 holes. We've been talking about this. I was listening to the ops team kind of try to make the right decision. They were going through a bunch of different scenarios. They have a bunch of spectators in the course that they're not going to bring on and bring off again. So they cut it to 9 holes, which doesn't get you a rating, but it does allow you to finish the tournament. How did you feel about the 9-hole final round? And I thought it was kind of entertaining. I thought it gave us a little bit more than we expected. And I don't think Gannon wanted that. Chris Dickerson, country boy, comes up here sloshing in the water. Dunks.
Boom.
The 2 on hole number 1.
Unreal.
That was great.
Brian, I mean, I'm always for more golf, right? Any way that we can get more golf in, we're supposed to have 54 holes, and that just wasn't meant to be, right? We're playing in the Midwest, and storms happen, and it's really unfortunate. It's unfortunate, obviously, for a lot of different people in a number of ways, right? Some people had amazing back nines; they were already done. Then it gets canceled. Like that stuff is just unfortunate for that. But at the top, I don't know if it would have shaken things up too much, right? Like he had a bad start, and I think more holes would have just played in Gannon's favor. But I just feel for really the people that run the tournament, right? They just want to see their course played without a thunderstorm rolling through, without crazy winds and rain. So, what did you think of the 9 holes, Charlie?
Well, I think they made the choice that made a lot of sense. We knew we were going to be able to get through 9 with such a big lead. It doesn't feel like you're really compromising the competitive nature of the round. And what are you going to do? They were ready to start, and then out of nowhere, another storm just kind of popped up over the course very suddenly. So it's really hard to deal with that. And I think people at home may be just thinking, well, why can't they just wait the 30 minutes and then get back out there?
Yep.
Well, it's like players have to go back out onto the course. Volunteers have to go back out onto the course. You have to get the spectators from where they are back out. And that whole process takes 20 minutes. And then people need to be ready to start. You got to have the 2-minute horn, the whole deal. So it's a lot more complicated than it might seem at first glance. I think it was a fine compromise, and I'm glad they played something rather than just calling the round completely, which seems like it might have happened, and some players probably would have preferred it.
Huge honorable mention to Ryan Mulder. Ryan
got
Mulder
it erased, man. You got it erased.
Shot like 6 over on the back.
Yeah.
Great player from the Midwest. He plays a lot of tournaments in Illinois. My younger brother Tom actually played him in a tournament a long time ago and called me. He's like, "Hey, there's this 12-year-old kid that just blew my brain out of my skull. He's so good." And it's Ryan Mulder. All these years later.
U.S. amateur champion, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And
won in a
man,
big way.
The 9-hole cutoff got him into the cash line by 1 stroke.
I think by law, he has to pay Braden Sides half the money, since Braden had a good back 9 that got wiped away, and he missed the cash.
I saw that for Braden. I saw Kevin Jones jumped up in the cash with a 3 down on the 9 holes, and Aderhold dropped like big time from lead card. I think he finished outside top 10, got 11th with the 4 over. Well, Charlie, before we let you go, I wanna talk to you just in general. How did you feel about Bad Rock Creek Disc Golf Course? I mean, first time seeing it on the Elite Series. Do you feel like it has a home?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I would be disappointed if this didn't come back on tour.
Okay.
I think people are going to start reacting to the storms and this and that, but what are you going to do? The thunderstorms are going to be something that happens, and the tours kind of goes the way that it goes. So I hope Kansas City gets an opportunity to be at a slightly different time of the tour so that they don't lose all the Europeans. I felt bad kind of for the local fans from that perspective, but the course itself, I mean, it looks pristine. I think that it's in a better place on kind of quote unquote year 1 of the tour. I know it's been a silver and a Q series, and talking to the tournament organizers, they said that was important for them to kind of get ready for this moment. But we've seen some year 1 courses come on tour, Harvey Penick, for instance, and they're kind of a train wreck. This is anything but. I mean, there's a few holes I would make changes to, but by and large, I thought it was fantastic. I think it's got some of the best holes we're going to see all season. Hole 1, hole 14, fantastic. Some of the really interesting par 4s, challenging, different skill sets on display. I feel like we don't have courses with this kind of big, wide variety of shot making required all that often. And so I just really appreciated it for that. And I felt like it met the pro level in its first year.
Nate, I think we should just grade the course right now because I love this course and I think there's so much room to grow. And I had a little chat. I'm going to grade it first because I got some intel on the infrastructure out there. Very positive. I'm going to give it the highest infrastructure score of the tour so far. I'm going to start out with infrastructure. I talked to Greg Diaz, a lead out there on the operations crew in the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and he's, I wouldn't say jaded, but like he's been to every tournament. He tows the big trailers out there. He works morning to night. He knows when something's running smooth and when something's not running smooth. He loved this tournament. He loved this local organizing committee. That is one of the big reasons why the infrastructure score goes up. You could have a wonderful facility, but if the local crew just doesn't help or doesn't buy into what the tour needs, it makes the event run poorly. Kansas City is an incredible place for disc golf. They have an incredible team that knows what they're doing. It's the 43rd annual tournament. So not only that, Greg said there was decent Wi-Fi out there. There was power out there. Their trailers were able to be hooked up. There were plenty of restrooms. He said there were a lot of really good things going for it. And on his side, from the operations side, everything went fantastic. The spectators went out there and had a great time. So I give this course, he gave it a 9 out of 10, which is pretty high praise.
That's high.
Because we haven't even come close to a 9 out of 10. He told me like an 8.55 rounded up to 9. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Because he was kind of more focused on the operations side. But that's the highest score we've given a property so far. I think, on some of the wooded holes, it's hard to get people back there, but they still did it. So big score there. Setting. Kansas City is right around the corner. Liberty's north, but there's so much to do in Kansas City. There's so many disc golf courses to play. There's so many restaurants, breweries. That in itself is great. And then, you know what? When you fly over with the drone on this property, it's beautiful. So I give it a pretty decent setting score. I give it a 7 out of 10,
Sweet.
Which is a solid score. Give it a B. And again, 10 out of 10 setting would be like if we are in the middle of like a beautiful mountainous forest. And yeah, we're on the moon or something like that. It'd be almost impossible to get.
How far could AB throw on the moon?
I actually don't know.
Put it into
I
orbit.
don't know. Yeah.
Is there lift on a Frisbee on the moon?
It wouldn't stop.
Honest,
it wouldn't.
I don't quite know.
Let us know in the comments what you think, if you know anything about physics or space. So 8 out of 10 for infrastructure. Setting is a 7 out of 10. Design, I give it an 8. I think if they stretch a couple holes out in different ways and move some baskets slightly off to force players to throw something different. I'm thinking about the basket on 9. I'm thinking about the basket on 8 for FPO. I'm thinking about 3. I think we can make players get more aggressive, throwing that punch hyzer through the trees. We're so close to having like 9 out of 10 design, but I'm going to give it an 8 because I really love the way the course flowed. Honorable mention. You had power shots followed up by touch shots, followed up by some shots going left, right, uphill, downhill, every skill challenged. And then prestige, lowest score of the group because it's still a new tournament. And I have a quick question. How much does trophy play into prestige? Because the Golden Goose was there.
It plays. Trophy plays, dude. I mean, like Music City Open, you're winning a Gibson guitar. Like Trophy plays.
What do you think? Should it play a factor?
Oh, it should definitely play a factor, yeah.
Okay, well, if the Golden Goose was the trophy alongside of the plaque, I'm giving prestige maybe like a 6 out of 10. If the Golden Goose was just a random gift from a fan, we give it a 5 out of 10. But I think it will get there because it's a fantastic tournament. So, 5,
Love it,
6,
Brian.
7, 8.
Love it, Brian. Well, I'm pretty high on this property. I'm gonna start with setting, and for me, it's a 7. I love the terrain, a deciduous forest, variety of different trees. We've got the water features. We've got grass in a wooded fairway, which is the dream scenario for disc golf, right? What I think it's missing for setting is this kind of like grand feeling. Like I feel like we kind of go in and out of this little forest, which the lines are sick, the lines are pure, and they're there. But when you play a course like Brook Trails in NorCal, or you play a course like Maple Hill, or you play, the Tampere Disc Golf Center, like there's
Milo.
this grand, Milo, great example. There's just this grand feeling. Like you look at a hole and you're just like, wow. I mean, this is beautiful if there wasn't a disc golf basket here, right? If I was just walking down this fairway, like this would be enjoyable. And I feel like that's not quite, I don't quite get that feeling when I'm at Bad Rock or when I'm watching Bad Rock. But Kansas City, as you said, great disc golf hub. Liberty is the city's behind the course, which will segue me into an 8 for the infrastructure. Because when you're playing at a public disc golf course and you're hosting an Elite Series event, you're hosting a Disc Golf Pro Tour, it's difficult, right? There's a lot of hoops you have to jump through, and you've got to go through the city to get permission to do stuff and to bring people out there and everything. And the city's behind it. They were a part of dropping $50,000 on the course upgrades, and they're excited to have the tournament there, and they're on board. And it was a great spectator venue, right? The way that it weaves in and out of the woods, like all those open holes, they can see them drive and then they can watch them throw the really technical shots back into the woods, which is really hard to just create on the tour. I mean, it's hard for any fans to be able to get good views of really technical shots. So I think we have that there. And then Design 8, amazing course. I feel like one of the better, more challenging properties that we see all season. And I don't even say that lightly. I feel like it's rare that you can go through a round. Like, first time we've seen on the Elite Series, rare that you can go through a round and just so quickly remember the holes and remember all these moments. And we talk about it. We talk about it ad nauseum, but that's the way that I define a good course, right? Is, can you remember, like, when Ricky did this, when Paul carved it, and when Gannon made that putt, and like you remember the moment of the turn of the disc, because it's such a beautiful line to create. And I think that we had that here at Bad Rock. So Design 8, and then for me, Brian, the Prestige is high, because this is the 43rd annual Kansas City Wide Open, and that makes it one of the longer running tournaments in the entire world. And while this is the first time that we've seen it on the Elite Series, Kansas City used to be one of the main stops on the national tour. And even before there was like a dedicated tour, right? Kansas City was like a place that you went to. You went and you played the KC Wide Open, and they've hosted a world championships there. And it already has that aura. Like, if you have a Kansas City Wide Open title, it means something. And so for me, Prestige is an 8, and I think that's gonna grow really quick. I think that this should obviously be a regular stop on the tour, and I think the Prestige will max out soon. So I'm pretty high on Bad Rock.
So you went 8, 8, 7, 8.
I think that might be my highest so far this year.
It is.
And I feel good about it. I think that there's going to be a few properties that we've seen before that are going to score higher on the year, but I feel good.
And real quick, so I went 5, 8, 7, 8, and the only reason I gave it a 5 instead of your 8, because I told Charlie the same thing. We were talking about it earlier in the day. If this tournament on the Pro Tour was played at like some fantasy world at Waterworks Park that somehow was perfect for, Pro Tour disc golf, then I'd give it that, because there's so much history to going back to Waterworks. It's such a beloved park. That's what it would take me in and really grip me, because Bad Rock is still a new property, so we're still kind of developing it in this community. I love the course, just like you. If it was Waterworks Gold, then I'd give it the same score as you, but I completely understand. Charlie, overall thoughts?
I'll give you snap grades. How about that? I won't go into great detail, but so let me get the categories. So infrastructure, sure, I'll give it an 8. I have no other thing to base it off of besides what we heard. Setting, 7. I think it's nice. There's only so much you can do in the Midwest as a general rule. Like, that just kind of is what it is. I think they've made the most of this property. They've clearly done a lot of work to put in some of the stonework and things like that. I think there's probably some spots where they can still beautify some fairways, Maybe they can find another way to integrate water into 1 or 2 holes, because I just love hole 1. I think it's one of the most interesting hole 1s we have on tour. And, there's a few holes that they can probably kind of bring out that grandness a little bit more. Like 18, that doesn't totally do it for me. And so I'd love to see them rethink that hole in particular.
Like aesthetically.
Yeah. I mean, I think the golf on 18 too, especially for FPO, where like I'd love to see an eagle be an option. But I don't want to nitpick. Design. I'm going 7. I think it's very good. I think it's clearly for me. I mean, I've been calling for them to get out of Emporia for 2, 3, 4 years now. So to me, like this being the course that we play in Kansas/Missouri, I find it to be a preferable experience to watch this course play out. I think there's a few holes that are a little too samey. There's some of the par 3s feel a little repetitive to me. It's kind of the same type of shot. I would love for them to find some other spots on the course where maybe they could tuck in a new par 3. None of them are bad in isolation, just that they have the kind of same feel each time. And I feel like there's probably an awesome par 3 out there that they haven't built yet. What else do we have?
Infrastructure, setting, design, prestige.
Prestige. I'm probably going to split the difference here. I think I go 6. I think it hurts not to have the Europeans here. It's not the tournament's fault in any way. If you scheduled it differently, they would probably be here. But at the end of the day, missing some of the best players and like most of the top players from the continent, it hurts. Yeah. It hurts the tournament. And I think, it being a first-year event, there's only so much you can do. But I think the course and the quality of the shot making we saw this weekend and some of the highlights that we got, some of the best of the year. Mm-hmm. So when you add those things up, I think people are going to want to come back to this property in the future. Kansas City, it's not a city I've really spent time in. I've flown into Kansas City and driven to Emporia. But I've heard great things, and it seems like an awesome community, and the crowd was mighty when they were out there this weekend, and we could really hear them on the broadcast. And as someone with headphones on the whole time, when the crowd really gets loud after a big shot, there's nothing better.
Charlie, my friend, what is it, a 13-hour day for us talking about disc golf?
Best buds.
Thank you.
The best buds over there in Charlotte.
Safe travels, and I hope the Knicks do all right.
Thank you. Knicks got one in the books last night. So
did they?
Appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh, Charlie, pleasure to have you, man. And obviously you're still doing the Upshot podcast. Yes. Where can the Jomez fans find you, Charlie?
Upshot podcast, wherever you listen to your podcasts. We also on the Ultiworld Disc Golf YouTube channel. So check it out.
Thanks so much, Charlie.
Thanks, guys.
Well, that was pretty fun. Love having Charlie in the booth and obviously on the podcast. He's now a friend of the pod. I'm tired, Nate. It's been a long day of disc golf commentary.
I bet.
But you know what? I think you can attest to this too. When you first get started doing live stuff for the Disc Golf Network, you work with so many different teams of people. I felt like I worked with every single person who had done disc golf commentary and didn't find my team until like now. Charlie was the play-by-play guy that I finally got to work with, and you were the guy that either we did Tournament Central together, or when I'm on course, you're sometimes in the booth, vice versa when you're on course. So I'm happy to just be working with my dudes right now. And obviously you and I have been doing this for years, but I want to just, I guess, maybe go over the weekend in regards to Perk's picks, because I crushed you. I know we've been longtime partners, longtime friends, but I got to say I'm real happy that I crushed you this week.
It was a good week, man.
So match play happened. I couldn't believe that I won the Ella Holland match. I thought it was a done deal, but Holland just didn't bring it.
Ella came back.
I think I was originally thinking I should pick Paul, and then I ended up going Rick, and then you went Paul.
We both switched. Yeah, we both switched. It's funny how that works, and you got them both. I mean, Rick with that late putt down the stretch on 17 to kind of ice it out. It was It was a good match. They both were good matches. And honestly, match play is a format that we just need to have on a regular basis. I think all of our 3-round tournaments, I feel like in the future, should start with match play on Thursday. It just adds a lot of texture to it. It's this different dynamic of there's so many more times where a player is like running for a shot that they would never like run because they're forced to because they're going to lose the hole. And I love the format I love what the format brings to the broadcast.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same thing that the Go Throw Tour offers the players, like a chance to play unrated golf for high stakes with pride on the line. And match play does that, I think, to an even higher degree because now it's not even stroke play. The players can just show up and just go for it. And I don't know. I really thought it was I don't know why precious was the first word I thought of, but watching Paul and Rick both kind of locked in, really bought into the match play against each other. And I feel like that's just the competitor in you coming out. And Dixon Jowers, who was on the course this weekend, said, listen, I hate losing $1 to my buddy in a practice round much more than I hate losing a tournament. And I think that plays in the match play format. But Nate, so I got you. I picked Ella. I picked Rick. That's 2 points for your boy. And then we picked winners.
Yeah.
And you went AB. I went Gannon, I believe.
Yeah.
AB did something pretty sick on 18. He drove like 6 million feet, went out of bounds, and still got the birdie. Good for him. Not his weekend. Didn't podium. So I got the point there. And then we both picked Holland. And there you go.
I think you get 5 points, right? You get 5 for Gannon's win and 5 for Holland's win. So
yes.
I'm at 5 and you're at 12. So
yeah,
you're taking a commanding lead here.
It's 21-16 Bear Boy. So that's nice. But you know what, Nate? I got something special for you. We got our first emails in the abnbpod@gmail.com address, and you should send an email there too, folks. If you have questions, discussion topics, things you want us to go over at the end of maybe a long podcast here or an off week, send us an email. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know how you think we're doing or things you wish we would do. Or if you got a product that you want us to do some sick ad reads for, we're pretty good at ad reads. So send us an email, abnbpod@gmail.com. But let's read the questions that we got. We're going to read 3 of them. I'm going to read this to you, Nate. This is from Gregory.
I'm ready.
While Owen Scoggins gets a lot of praise, I don't understand why I haven't heard anyone point out how she is a phenomenon in sports. People in the 40s are well beyond their prime, quote unquote. At least 5 to 10 years past, they say. Owen continues to improve. It's unheard of in professional sports. She is better at her age than any professional athlete in any sport has ever been, is what he's saying. She is one of a kind. Nobody playing disc golf has done more to morph their game to compensate for their physical size like she has. Will you please spend more time talking about the phenomenon?
I love that, man. I love that. And I think that, kudos to, I'm sorry, what was
Gregory.
the question? Gregory, man. I mean, thank you so much for really this illumination more than a question, right? Because you're spot on. I don't know any other players. I mean, LeBron maybe, is pushing 40 and still playing at a high level. But there's just not a lot of comparisons to the dog in Owen Scoggins. And we had a segment actually in Tournament Central where we really dove into not just her ability to play at a high level and play near the maximum potential that she has as far as distance goes, week in and week out, but to bring the positivity that she does every week as well. I think she's been playing this game for a really long time, and somehow it's like it's a fresh slate every single week. she is probably, when you ask the FPO field, hey, who's your dream card? I don't know a single FPO player that wouldn't put Own on the list. And of course it's because of her good play, but it's because of the positivity that she brings, man. When she sees someone else win a tournament, she's the first one to come running up and like hugging a player and just really just being there to witness when she's not the one to take it down. So Own is one of my favorite players all time. And yeah, she's doing it at 40 years old. She's throwing flex shots, maxing out distances, and one of the better putters in the world. But Gregory, she's also one of just the brightest people that you'll run across. So hats off to you for the question. And Brian, what do you have to say about Own being, I think she's still the second highest rated player all time, second highest rated FPO player currently, 987 at the age of 42. I mean, what do you make of that?
Well, I got a couple things. So first and foremost, what is Holland rated? 991. Holland is second highest rated.
So Own's third then.
Yeah, but here's what I got to say. First and foremost, when you get older and quote unquote past your prime physically, your health matters more and more, and how you take care of yourself matters more and more each year that goes by. And Own is kind of an anomaly when it comes to tour life because it's hard to eat quality, healthy food all the time on tour. We hear players talk about it all the time. You can only eat Chipotle so much before you lose your mind. Own cooks all of her own meals. She cooks super healthy, and that's really hard to do, 3 square meals a day when you're out there living in a van. She lives in like a small van. Her and Justin, they make it work, and it takes discipline. I always see her outside with her little camp stove cooking up something delicious that smells super good. Clearly, she's a good cook. She has a beautiful garden back home in LA that she talks about all the time. She's like, I can't wait to go home and get done with this stretch of tour so I can go tend to my garden again. And
dude, I've got a great story that sorry to cut you off there, Brian. I've just got a really good story that goes right in line with what you're talking about with her little stove and the garden at home, because this is several years ago. We're in Austin, Texas. We invited her to go see some music after a tournament. I was hanging with Paige Pierce, and we're outside the music venue, and Owen and Justin are hanging with us, and Owen looks down at the ground, and she sees some wild onion, and she's like, her face lights up, and Paige is like, what's going on? And she's like, it's onion. And she starts picking the onion. She looks around at the field and her eyes get even bigger. She's like, there's food everywhere. She starts picking like pounds of onions. And we go into the show and we come back out and she's got like a 5-star meal, like featuring the wild onion that she just picked from the field. And it's the age, it's the grace that she has, the positive attitude, and it's also the story of her coming from Laos, where she came from. I mean, she was legitimately plowing rice fields in Laos into her teenage years. So she has this next level gratitude for the game, and she carries it with her, and I feel like it's her superpower. And Gregory, I feel that's why she's playing so well into her 40s, is because she's like, she understands that being able to get paid to throw a Frisbee is ridiculous, and we've got to keep it light out there.
Yeah, I remember, I think there's an episode of On Tour that you can see on Disc Golf Network still. I forget which one it was of the first season, but she looks into the camera and says, this isn't work for me. Disc golf is not a job. Like, yes, technically it is, but I worked in the hot sun 7 days a week. Like, I know what work actually is. So when she comes out here, where's the fear? What are you afraid of? And that's something that you need a big amount of life experience to understand. You can read a book and kind of understand it, but until you've actually lived the life to give you that perspective, it's not quite going to take effect. So yeah, she's just a special human being mentally. And I also, just real quick, before we move to the next question, and maybe the last question, the fact that she takes the shot that a lot of people move away from when they start to really get into disc golf, the flex shot on the forehand, she takes that and says, no, I'm not going to learn like the textbook way to throw a disc. I'm going to take this skill and I'm going to beat it into the ground over and over and over again. And I'm going to beat you because of it. That's what I think is interesting about Own. She does it her own way. And when it comes to throwing the disc, she does it simply. The putting is where she's a superstar. She's never leading the driving categories. But when it comes to scrambling and putting, she will beat nearly everybody in the field year after year after year. So that's why she's exciting to watch. And then obviously just her energy that she brings with her everywhere she goes. That's why. That's why she's just a fantastic pro athlete. And yeah, into her 40s, kudos. I tip my figurative fedora at you.
Insane. Great point, Greg.
Last question. Let's see here. What are some courses you'd love to see on tour that don't currently have the infrastructure to support an event? This is a very easy one. We'll wrap up the show. We've had a lot to talk about. What are your top 3, Nate?
Top 3, I think number 1, I just brought it up earlier, is Brook Trails in Northern California. It plays through a legitimate redwood grove, protected grove, and with this beautiful creek flowing through it, and has some of the dreamiest holes that you'll ever see. And then another course that just doesn't have the infrastructure. I mean, I think I'm gonna stay in California, and I'm gonna go with De La Viega because of the prestige of that place, and just it holds on to just the roots of disc golf. And I think it's outdated as far as the golf goes and the challenge that it brings, but I just want to see it played. And I know we can't really bring the tour there. There's nowhere to park, and cell service is terrible, but top of the world is a special place looking over the bay. And yeah, and then another one is just going to be a random course in the middle of like Finland. Hiitinharhu is its name, and no service, no place to bring the tour, no place to park, but just a magical course, par 64 through the woods, par 5s, beautiful disc golf park baskets, just like catching sunlight off in the distance. And I ran an event there in 2019 and actually met Henna Blomru at Hiitinharhu, and we're coming up on a 400-foot par 3. I've got my driver in my hand. This is my event. We're playing for cash, right? We're playing for cash. I got the driver, and Henna looks over at me, and she's like, "You throw a driver here?" And I look back at her, and I'm like, "Well, yeah." And then I see she's got the Midari. She's throwing a mid-range on a 400-foot hole, and she parks it,
of course.
Brian. She parks it, and that's when I discovered Henna. It was at Hiitinharhu, and that's my course that I think would make it on the tour.
The very first one that I think of is in Estonia. It's called Krevma. They played the what is it, Estonian Open there. It's like a par 56 or something like that, and that's why it doesn't pass the infrastructure test. It's more of just like a layout thing, but I personally love like a lower par course. I love technical hard par 3s. I played horrible there when I went. I didn't pack enough discs. I did not have the shapes to throw some of these holes, and I played like garbage, but I left the course thrilled and so happy that I got to see it. That is number 1. Number 2, it's kind of a theme for me. Pier Park is another one of those up in Portland.
Yeah, Pier Park.
Obviously, there's no way that a lot of those holes would hold up, but I think if you stretch them out into the longest pins, I don't know. I just want to see Dreamcatcher played on a pro tour. That hole is just so nasty. It would provide the single greatest highlight if somebody could put one inside circle 1 cleanly. And then my last one that I would probably say is Picnic Island in Florida. And I know the course is not nearly hard enough to like
where's that at?
It's in Tampa, and it's just like on the beach, like right there with the ocean, or the Gulf, like right there. And we talk about courses, matching the terrain and showcasing the beauty and the variety in our sport.
Mm-hmm.
You joke about being on the moon for a disc golf course, but I want to see a beach course so bad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't care. But those are like my three, at least right now. There's so many we could list. But
There's a bunch that come to mind when you bring up the beach. I'm thinking like Koh Samui, Thailand, and Taupo, New Zealand.
Yeah. Well, Nate, we just talked a lot, and it was a pleasure.
You talked all day, man. You did FPO, MPO, and a podcast.
I'm on like 13 hours. And you know what? It's been so fun the whole time.
Good.
I'm not tired. I'm going to go hang out. I'm actually going to sleep in tomorrow, which is amazing. I am going to the Virginia State Frisbee Championships up in Fredericksburg next weekend. I get to hang out with all the old legends of overall. So many people come from all over the place to be here. I'm freestyling with my mentor, Joel Rogers, and Scott Stokely. I'm doing every event, MTA. I don't know if TRC is there, but I'm doing MTA, double disc, freestyle, disc golf, and accuracy, and I believe distance. So it's just going to be an absolute blast. What do you got going on for the rest of the week, Nate?
Well, we're moving out of the tiny home. We're moving just up the road to a town called Sisters outside of Bend, and we're getting some green grass in the backyard. Gonna be able to maybe set up a basket if the fiance allows it, and gonna build a little sauna and have the cold plunge out there. Maybe play some more disc golf. I played a tournament this weekend, and it was fun, man. It's fun to get back in there and just carve some lines through the pine trees. But what do we have? We have a week off next week, and then Champions Cup.
Champions Cup, President's Cup.
Yeah, President's Cup as well on the Wednesday.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool. So the tour's got a long way to go, right? They're probably starting to cruise already. They're on their way. They're crossing Kansas. They're going through the mountains. Stockton, California.
It's crazy, man. It's the longest drive. I feel like I've made 30-hour drives out there to try to get to the San Francisco Open out there at Glen Eagles back in the day.
Yeah.
But man, Nate, so much to talk about. Send us an email, abnbpod@gmail.com. On the off-week shows, we're going to answer a lot more of them. And I'm super excited. Nate, thank you so much, buddy. It's been a pleasure.
It's fun, man. Yeah, we'll see you next week, guys.